Hello there everybody and welcome to Memory Gamma. Today we're going to be moving away from the four main factions. Thank you for everyone that's watched and commented. I've had a few suggestions, so we're going to follow up on one of those right now. Specifically, we're going to look at the Kazon. So, now the Kazon are an independent faction. So, the independents are these guys. That includes things like the Marquis, the Andorians, the Gorn, Dauntless, all that sort of thing. But the Ferengi, the Kazon, and the Zindi are all sub-factioned independent. So all of their upgrades can go onto any of the other ships in that faction without faction penalty. So you can put a Vidian captain on a Kazon ship with a Zindi crew member. And provided there's no on-card extra point costs, then that's no faction penalty. They all count as independent. In the same way that Vulcans and Bajorans both count as Federation. I will be doing an independent, sorry, not an independent, but a separate video on just the Bajorans and just the Vulcans, because both of them have got some quite nice stuff that you can do even just in a pure faction pure. So for this, I'm going to go faction pure with the Kazon. Now, the Kazon only have two classes of ship with 5 named ships between those two classes. So we're going to build one of each at the same time. Now, these aren't necessarily meant to be worked together, but obviously, since there's only a handful of cards, a handful of captains and crew and stuff, there will be a little bit, there might be a bit of overlap, but we'll try and be as sort of varied as we can. So, to start with, we have the Predator class. Comes in at a 4 attack, 1 evade, 5 hull, and 3 shields. And it flies like an Excelsior class. So 1 to 4 straights, the hard turns are red, and it can reverse, as in, here we go, little 1 reverse in there for this. Now, there are 3 named ships. You have the Nistrum Colour, which gets a bonus attack dice for every ship at range 1 when it fires at range 3. So, good for long range shooting in a fleet. However, it only gets battle stations, evade, and target lock. You then have the Ogla Razdik, which is all friendly Kazon ships that with a hull of 4 or less get a bonus defense dice at range 1 to 2. Which only triggers off of Kazon Raiders. And finally, you have the Relura Sankur, which is the one I'm going to use, which is if you performed a green maneuver this round, you get a bonus attack dice. It is only 1, it's not 1 for every attack, but it's just if your dial move this round was green, you get a bonus attack dice, which is a really nice ability. It also shows up on the IRW Valdor in the Romulans. That's got, same firepower, but this has a much nicer firing arc. It's an Excelsior with 4 attack dice with a bonus attack dice built in for greens. So that's a really nice, solid ship. And it's actually a really good base hull ship for any independent fleet you want to build. The basic hull itself is really nice, just because it's a 4 attack dice with a 270-degree coverage. The smaller ship is a Raider. So these are 2 attack, 2 defense, 3 hull, and then 3 shields on the named, 2 on the generic. Now, they are obviously a lot smaller. They're only 3 hull ships, and they have 180 forward firing arc, but no rear arc. The 2 named ships are the Nistrum Raider, that while you're firing at a ship that has a scan token next to it, you get 2 extra attack dice with primary weapon. Now, that's if the defending ship has a scan token, so if they've gone for scan as their action, you get 2 bonus attack dice. Now, in the modern world where scans are really a big thing, Vulcans are very big, and there's lots of people running anti-scan work or lots of scan work, the Nistrum Raider comes in quite nicely with that ability, because there's going to be a lot of times where the person's going to pick up a scan token. The other one is the Halleck Raider, much more defensive ability. You can disable one of your shields when defending to gain 2 extra defense dice. Now that is when defending, so that's every time you defend. So if you get attacked multiple times per round, you can disable 1 shield each time and give you bonus defense dice. However, you do have to have active shields. It's not one of your remaining, it's one of your. So it does require you to have shields. And with only 3 shields and no in-pure faction way of repairing them, you're probably going to get 1, maybe 2 uses out of that, depending on what you're facing. But we're going to go with the Nistrum Raider. So, here are our 2 ships, and we'll build them both out as sort of like a little thing, but each one of them will be able to work independently as well. And the Nistrum Raiders maneuver dial, it's basic standard maneuver dial. You get your little 3x3 box in the middle, so you get your 2 hard turns as white, 3s are reds, 3 come about as a red, and with the 180 firing arc and white hard turns, you are going to be able to get something in arc most of the time. Now, captains. Here they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 named captains. That's it. Because there's only, as I said, 5 named ships. So 5 named packs, and 2 of them came with 2 captains. That's all there is. So we don't have an awful lot of options, but we do have some nice ones. So from the bottom, we have Retic. Whenever you defend, reroll 1 blank. That's just a passive bit of defensive quality. You only get 2 defenses on the Raider and 1 on the Predator. However, there are ways to get more. Long range, being in the way of an obstacle, cards that add stuff. So it's just it's a 1.2 skill captain that makes you that little bit more, survivable. It is only a little bit. It is only re-rolling 1 blank, so you only have a 3 in 8 chance of rolling a blank to begin with. But that does give you a chance to, upgrade it to a battle station for you to convert or to invade. So he is nice, but he's a 2 skill 1 point captain. What would you want? The next one we have is Haron. He adds a weapon slot and then makes all your Kazon weapons 1 point cheaper. So realistically, you put him onto a Kazon ship, it's going to give it a second weapon slot, and then he pays for himself. If you buy both weapons, he saves you 2 points, which is how much he costs. So what you're basically getting is an extra weapon slot and a 3 skill captain for free. There are better things, there are worse things. I mean, if you have, if you don't have very many points, then you can put him on and it gets you just not a 1 skill captain. In the same way that Luarin in the Dominion faction, she is a 3 skill 2 point captain that makes 1 upgrade on your ship 2 points cheaper. So she pays for herself, and fundamentally you're getting her for free. Same with Haron. Then we have Colour. Now Colour is the only Kazon character which is duplicated. So there are 2 versions of Colour. This one is you may discard one of your crew upgrades after you move to do an action bar action as a free action. Nice, but as you see, nothing adds crew slots and you only have a handful of them. And because all the Kazon packs came out quite a long time ago, all the crew are quite expensive. So that's not usually something you can afford to do. That's more of I need a captain skill better than 1, and I need an action this round. I'll have to toss the crew member. Then we're getting up to Surat. He is 5 skill, the first 5 skill 3 point captain we've got. You may also notice no elite talent so far. Kazon aren't very elite. So Surat is you get a scan token beside your ship as an action. However, if you don't have a tech upgrade equipped, you also get an Orcs power token. Now that sounds like a bad trade. However, you may have seen that the Nistrum Raider doesn't get scan on the action bar, but he does get a tech slot. So for Surat on the Nistrum Raider, you would get basically action scan. Now it is placing a scan token down, so it's not action scan. So if you have some way of giving a free scan action, you can still perform that as well. And obviously, as long as you've got the tech upgrade on board, you don't suffer the Orcs power token. So he just gives you access to an action that ship wouldn't normally have. Also, the other Raider doesn't have it, and neither does the Nistrum Colour, the named Colour class, Predator class. It misses the scan off, unlike the Rulura Senker, who gets it as standard. So he doesn't have a lot of use except on the smaller ships that don't get scans. But again, it's a potential. Jabin from Caretaker. So when defending, you get a bonus defense dice. A passive bonus defense dice. He's Tom Paris, crew member as a captain. But for 5 skill, 3 points, and a passive bonus defense dice every time you defend, that's a nice upgrade. That's nice. I would put him onto a normal independent, not just a Predator, not just a Kazon fleet. He's a nice captain to have regardless. And we have Razik. Now Razik is a multi-use. He has 6 skill, 4 points. So the first one that we might consider to be mid-tier. He can either disable a crew upgrade to reroll 1 attack or defense dice, or discard to reroll all or any number. So you can. He's a bit more flexibility. So you can, if you only need a 1 reroll, he works nicely. You can disable the crew, get the 1 dice. if you fired your massive attack and you rolled absolute nothing, you can kick one of your crew out the airlock and get a free target lock fundamentally, or a free defensive reroll. The defensive reroll is probably what's nicest about him, because getting quality, your action could have been target lock. That's your rerolls there. However, this allows you to either, if you've had to spend your target to fire the weapon, it still gives you some quality, or if someone's managed to get a really powerful hit on you, it's a way of getting some bonus evasions. And now, our final captain. Wahey! It's Marge Colour again. And this time he comes with an elite talent. Now this is from the Nistrum Colour booster pack, so he is the more powerful version. 6 skill, 4 points, and a talent slot. When defending, you get a bonus defense dice for each tech upgrade on board your ship. Now, a max of +2. Okay, max of 2 is a bit annoying because the rule of 3 would have kicked in if you just said natively, if you just said +1 defenses for every tech upgrade, it would have kicked in at rule 3 anyway. But putting it at a max of 2 means that you can't cheese it by having tons. Now, he is nice. It's just a passive bonus defense dice for tech upgrades. Every named Kazon ship comes with at least 1 tech slot. Apart from the Halic Raider, which is double crew, double tech. Double crew, double weapon, pardon me. So, I think we're going to go with colour. And we're going to put colour on the Relura Sankur. It already gets passive bonus for its attack. We're now going to get some passive defense. And I think we're going to have Jabin come along on the Nistrum Raider for the bonus, again, passive defensive. Now, there isn't an Admiral. Surprise, surprise. No Ambassadors either. Kazon don't really do diplomacy. Elite Talent. There is exactly one. It is Ambition. When you attack a ship that has more upgrade cards equipped to it, you can discard this card to add 2 attack dice or re-roll a number of attack dice. So, it's Kazon ship, Kazon captain, which means it can only go with Marge Colour, because he's the only Kazon captain that gets an elite talent, barring using fleet captains or other ways of being able to get an elite talent slot onto this ship, onto a ship with a Kazon captain like J-Bim or Razik. It has to go on Marge Colour. However, because it requires the opponent's ship to have more upgrades than you, you're using that if you're going to be running a bare ship. So if you're running a ship that doesn't have very many upgrades, like colour, ambition, and maybe a weapon, then that's a good thing to have. If you're going to load the ship up with crew, weapons, and tech, then it becomes a bit less useful, because if you've got 6, 7 cards on board your ship, you've got to find a ship with 8 cards on board before you can trigger this. Now, of course, some of your upgrades may have been discarded, which means you'll have less cards, and that might be the game changer. So, I mean, it's the only talent that Kazon get. We might as well bring it. But obviously, there is a certain amount of... It has to be at something that has more upgrades assigned to it. Now, there are some builds, some Federation builds, which I may go into in a future video, where you can get a ridiculous amount of upgrade cards on one ship. And not even a particularly big ship. So, against some things like huge clown car builds, shout out to people who do things like docking shuttles or maltzing or just bonus slots out the airlock. There is an awful lot of use out of ambition you can get against certain fleets. Okay, now we get a bonus defense dice for each tech upgrade. So we're going to want some tech to give use of that. Here are our 3 tech upgrades. Yes, you heard me right. There are exactly 3 tech upgrades. The tracked beam and the masking circuitry came with multiple packs. The stolen technology came only with the Nistrum Colour Predator class booster pack. Now, the stolen technology is an action discard to pick a action on a non-Borg tech upgrade on an enemy ship at range 1 to 3, and you get to do their action. It's a lot of words to basically means you discard the card and use one of the enemy tech upgrades for a turn. Now, it requires them to have a tech upgrade with an action. There aren't an awful lot of them. However, it is just range 1 to 3. There is no requirement that they have to be decloaked or have no active shields, which a lot of these sort of going on board and borrowing or taking actions of other people tends to require you to have them no shields or no cloak. This could be on on the Scimitar, a shielded cloaked ship, and you can still take one of their tech upgrade actions. But again, there has to be a tech upgrade that has an action on it, which again, it's not a massively wide range of cards that have those. I mean, theoretically, you could use it on another stolen technology. If someone's got a Kazon ship with this, you could use it to do their action. Not a lot of point, but there's not an awful lot of cards that tech upgrades that have actions. So, the other ones are masking circuitry, which gives you the ability to cloak. You get a cloak action instead of your normal action. You get an Orc's power token as well, however, but while you're cloaked, you can sensor echo even if the card's disabled. Now, this is only 3 points rather than the usual 5 for a tacked on cloaking device, or 4 in some cases, because you get the additional penalty of the Orc's power token. It also costs 5 points more if it's not on a Kazon ship. So, I think for that works quite nicely on the Nistrum Raider. It's a very manoeuvrable ship, bumps it up to a 6 defense dice, 7 with J-Bin. Now you're getting somewhere. And so we're left with a tractor beam, which is a discard, unfortunately. When the ship within range 1 reveals their maneuver, if it's 3 or higher, you can discard tractor beam to make it 2 slower. So the enemy tries to get away, and you can stop them from escaping. It's nice to keep them at close range if you want to be doing stuff to them, or if you just want to keep that range 1 bonus. Or if you know that you have to do a slow maneuver due to an Orc's power token, and they're going to literally bomb it across the battlefield to get out of your way. So there's definitely use to it. Now, that's the only tech upgrades we've got. However, I am going to go to questions, because we do have a question mark upgrade. We have 2 of them, in fact. First one we have is Unremarkable Species. Now, this one does not require an upgrade slot, but it may not be equipped to a Borg ship. Anyone who remembers the Doctor going through about the Kazon during the series of Voyager will remember that they say that the Kazon are not worthy of assimilation. Why would you assimilate someone that takes you further away from perfection? So, while this upgrade is equipped, your Kazon upgrades can't be targeted by Borg assimilation tubules, and you get +2 defense dice every time a Borg ship fires at you. However, it can only be equipped to a Kazon ship. It does give them a bit of usability against the Borg. Now, it only stops assimilation tubules. It doesn't stop them doing anything else. So other Borg upgrades, like Second of 5, who goes on board and just kills a crew upgrade, diversionary tactics, any of the other Borg messing up stuff still works. It just stops assimilation tubules from disabling and stealing your crew and tech. It also gives you +2 defense dice. It's a nice thing. I mean, if you're going up against Borg with a Kazon ship, it's a limited narrow of missions or games where you go, I'm bringing Kazon, and they go, I'm bringing Borg. Okay, well, bring Unremarkable Species, it's 5 points, but it is worth it against the Borg. However, it is completely useless against everything else. The other one is actually quite nice. It's First Marge. Now, it's a fleet unique. It doesn't require an upgrade slot, but it must have a Kazon ship and a Kazon captain. Now, while it's equipped, you get an additional tech upgrade, nice, and +2 captain skill, even nicer. And during the planning phase, you can discard the First Marge to pick a ship at range 1, disable one of the tech upgrades, and then steal it. That's very nice. So colour is going to be the First Marge, because he is. So yes, it gives you another tech upgrade, which means we can now put on a stolen technology to give us the double tech upgrade for colour special rule. And he's skill 8. Skill 8 for the talent slot and 4 points. That's not a bad ship. You know, and the ability to disable and then steal a tech upgrade when you get to range 1. Yes, you'll lose the captain skill once you've done that, because you do have to discard First Marge to do it. And seeing as it's a question mark upgrade, there's not even ways you can prevent it from being discarded. Tech and weapons and crew, there are ways you can keep them around. Not so much with question marks. So, it's a nice upgrade, and it's a nice captain skill boost. It's a 2-point skill boost with a bonus slot and a steal mechanic for 5 points. It's about nice. Okay, moving on. Let's do some crew. There is quite a few crew. Most of them are all the named characters we see in the episode. So Tersa allows you to kill a crew upgrade on an enemy ship that isn't cloaked and has no shields, but you get a scan token out of it as well. Tyrna, he's the one that sacrifices himself with a micro detonator in his finger. In his arm, sorry. That basically he's a boarding party that might damage the enemy hull. Kazon, Aaron Eisenberg in his Kazon clothes. It's a disable for +2 attack dice but -2 defense dice. Now that is only once each, so you will gain 2 attack dice this round and roll -2 defense dice this round. So if you get attacked multiple times, then you get, you can trade it out, one of each. If you're getting attacked only once, it's -2, and same with the +2 attack dice. It's a pool of +2 attack dice. It's not every time you do it. So that's not bad, and it's only an action disable. So that is quite nice. If you know you can't get shot back, that's a nice thing to have. Roulette is basically it's Captain Razik ability on a crew upgrade. When attacking or defending, you may discard the card to reroll any number of dice. So he just gives you a offensive or defensive reroll for a discard. So he can go with Jabin. You're going to be cloaked, and he can be used when you completely blank out your defense roll. You can discard him and reroll any number of those defense dice. Really nice way of getting yourself a bit of quality on your defense. Lorem. When attacking with a prime weapon, you can, instead of firing normally, discard Lorem, and your attack value becomes equal to the cost of an upgrade on the target ship. So basically, if they've got an expensive upgrade, a 4 or a 5 pointer, you pick Lorem and you're firing 4 dice now instead. The maximum is 4 dice. So that is the rolling number of attack dice equal. Now, if you have other bonuses, that still can be augmented. A range bonus would still count. So you'd fire 4 and then +1 for a range bonus, for example. Because it's just, instead of rolling normal number of attack dice, you can roll that number. That number can still be augmented by certain things. Like, for example, Kazon, +2 attack dice. It just replaces the value with its new value for a turn. The Kazon guards, you can discard him for an evade token and an Orcs power token at the start of the activation phase is the problem. Now, because it says during the activation phase, which means at the start of the activation phase. So that means before your move, you're discarding him for an evade token and an Orcs power token. So it doesn't mean you've got an evade, which is nice, but it means that you have to have either agreed that you're not going to get an action that round, or have done a green maneuver to immediately clear that Orcs power token. Seska, Martha Hackett, everyone's favourite turncoat. So, action, target a ship at range 2 to 3, disable Seska, and a crew upgrade on the target ship, even against a cloak ship, which is quite nice. So it's a disable her for a disable on them. So it's an equal trade-off. It works against people that are lower than you, so people that have already moved. Against people that are higher, what you're doing them is basically giving them the opportunity to re-enable them as their action. But it does cost them their action to do so. And it can be used to nerf someone's combo if they've got a big crew combo that needs them to have all 3 crew upgrades active. Well, disabling one of them stops the combo for a round. So she's by no means bad, but then you have Hallis. When defending, you can remove your captain card from the game to cancel the attack. At which point, he becomes the new captain with a skill of 3. So it's attack cancellation for a get rid of your captain. Now, what's important to remember here is that it says remove your captain card from the game. It is not discard your captain card. There is a difference. So if your captain card is removed from the game, he cannot be prevented from that. So you cannot prevent that with Linalis, with Bev Crusher, with any other card that says when a captain would be discarded, discard this card instead. Nope, because you're not discarding him. You're removing him from the game. So it's an absolute, this captain is dead, you are not getting him back. But it's attack cancellation, which is never a bad thing. And the final one, my personal favourite, the Kazon Raiding Party. When you attack, if you do at least 2 damage, discard the card to reduce that damage to exactly 1 critical, which ignores shields. Oh, and then you get to disable a tech upgrade on board that ship, and then steal that upgrade as well. So you fire an enemy ship. Whether they're cloaked, shields up, doesn't matter. As long as you get at least 2 damage, get to the deal damage step. If at least 2 of that is going through, instead of doing your whatever damage you do, you change it to 1 critical damage that ignores their shields. It then allows you to disable and steal one of their tech upgrades. Lots of stealing tech here. You notice the Kazon are all very much about, I want this tech, I want the Gucci kit that they've got. And to use it, I'm going to use lots of stealing. They're like mini Ferengi. Lots of stealing techniques, only the Ferengi do it much better. Weaponry. There's a handful of weapons. Most of them are quite simple. You've got some photonic charges, which are a set number of dice, and they hand out an auxiliary power token if you do at least 1 damage. Particle beam weapon is simply a high attack dice weapon, forward or rear firing arc. But the best one is an arc torpedo launcher. This allows you to fire this anywhere that isn't your forward firing arc. So interesting enough, you can fire it out of your rear 90 or your rear 180. More importantly, you put it on the Kazon Nistrum Raider, and you can fire it in the 180 degrees that isn't your forward firing arc. So with that and the prime weapon, you've got 360 coverage, apart from range 1 at the rear, because of the arc torpedo launcher's minimum range. And then you've got Relura Sankur. I mean, arc torpedo launcher again, it's never a bad thing, and it gives you something to use that back 180 for. At this point here, you could put on something like particle beam weapon or photonic charges. Variable yield charges is simply a disable and an aux power token for +1 dice when you fire a photonic charge. Not really brilliant, because you have to A, bring a photonic charge to make it work, and it's a disable and an aux power token for a single dice. But it can be nice if you just need that bonus 1 dice. But that's what the Relura Sankur's ability is for. So I think we go for the particle beam 5 dice 4-pointer. Forward and rear firing arc 5 dice. When you do a green maneuver, that's a 6 dice attack. If you've used Kazon's action, that's an 8 dice attack, capping out your rule of 3. Yes, I know that takes over. Yeah, that's amazing. That's an 8 dice attack, forward 180 or rear 90. That's a lot of power. Now, of course, you don't have a lot of quality, but all you need to do is then, if you're firing at someone with more cards, you have ambition to reroll your attack dice. And then if you do the damage you're looking for, you could do Kazon Raiding Party and steal their stuff instead. So, that's the Kazon. That's literally the entire Kazon. That's pretty much, I've gone through every single card the Kazon have. There is no bad cards here. There is some very situational ones, things like Seska, things like Hallis for his attack cancellation, but you have to remove your captain from the game. Mostly the Kazon art is expensive is the problem. There's got some nice abilities. The first Mage, colour with the first Mage on a Kazon Raiding Party is really nice. Kazon Raiding Party is, while it's locked to a Kazon ship, it's not 1 per ship. So you could put 2 of these on a single ship and use it multiple times in a battle to steal multiple tech upgrades. And between the Kazon Raiding Party and the first Mage, you can seriously strip some tech upgrades off of the enemy fleet. If they're going for a very tech-heavy build, some Feds do, Vulcans certainly do, certain Andorian enhanced shields, shield adaptation. Some of those cards, even if you can't use it because you're the wrong ship class and it immediately gets discarded, what you've done is you've negated the enemies using it. If it is something you can use, refractive shielding, reinforced shielding, sensor grid, anything like that, then it becomes a net win for you. It just gives you something to play with that the enemy no longer has. So, thank you very much for joining me. This has been a bit of a longer video, but basically this was an entire faction run through in one video. These are the 2 ships. You don't have to do these 2 ships. If you have a particular combination, then go for it. Drop it in the comments and we'll have a look. If there's a particular card here that you love and you want to see more of, again, let me know. Unlikely, since most of the things here are Kazon ship, Kazon captain. But thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.